We got the Hall of Fame thing, so just don't want anybody playing right now, if you don't mind. It's only going to be about 15, 20 minutes. Thank you. Okay, we're good. Can I have everybody's attention, please? I don't have a mic, so I just have to yell for everybody, if you don't mind. There we go. So this is something we do every year. Last year, obviously, we weren't able to do it. It's the Hall of Fame ceremony. We're trying to honor people who started this sport years ago and kind of honor them for what they did so that all of us could play now. So I just wanted to start off by talking about two of the early women that played this sport and really got it going for women. Betty Weed is one of them, and Diane Heems is the other one. So both of them came out back in the 70s, in the early 70s, the first tournaments that we had out here. Betty Weed was the first one to win the outdoor national singles title. So, which is pretty incredible. And because of that, you have all the other women that have come out over the years. The other woman that came out back in the day is Diane Heems, who I think Martha McDonald would probably know who these people are because I'm sure she played both of them back then. And won. Isn't that right, Martha? See, here she comes. She's going to find out in a second. So back in 1975 in the singles final, it was between Diane Heems and Betty Weed. Barry Wallace, who's one of the co-founders of the sport, had a few things to say about this back then, and he was saying, in the upper bracket, Diane Heems and Betty Weed were playing. She's a veteran racquetball player. She's a pro from San Diego. And the defending outdoor national champ was Betty. She was favored. Everybody thought she was going to win for sure. Diane didn't have a lot of experience. She'd only been playing for, I think, 6 months or something like that at the time. And strangely enough, she came out and she dominated, which was amazing. Now, Martha, I believe you know who that is, and you got the luck of playing at the same time. So it's kind of incredible that these two women were the ones that started everything back then and got people like Martha, Lynn Adams, and a whole slew of women to come out back then. So we just want to say thank you and honor them and have them into the Hall of Fame because they're well deserving of it. So let's give them a round of applause for that. Unfortunately, neither of them will be able to be here. One of them has passed away. So right now, we're going to move on to the two gentlemen, Harding and Olson, who are two of the most famous guys from back in the day, who a lot of people say they were the best doubles team ever to play the sport of outdoor racquetball. So right now, I want to bring in Brian Hawks, who's going to give a little intro, because Brian had the pleasure of, or displeasure of playing them back in the day. Probably one of the few teams that gave him a headache. So Brian, if you want to say a few things, bring them up.
Hold this and you're good to go.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you. Thank you guys for stopping the tournament so that we can honor the recipients this year of the Hall of Fame inductees. And I, like Jeff said, I get the pleasure and honor of introducing Mark Harding. And some of you, Mark Harding won. And but back in 1979 or so is when I first heard of Mark Harding, and then in 1980, Mark Harding and Paul Olson won the men's pro doubles division in the outdoor nationals. And I was still playing in the juniors, and so they were still treating me like that, but it was still quite an accomplishment back in those days, because some of you may not have heard of these guys that they beat, but there were these two guys named Dave Trenton and Steve Fay. And just to give you just kind of a look back at what it was like back then in 1980, Dave Trenton was a former Green Beret in the Army, and he looked the part, and he was a very intimidating guy, and he was even intimidating to his partner, who was a linebacker on his football team growing up playing football for many, many years. And then here are these two guys that come in, these two surfer guys, Harding and Olson, and the contrast in styles was ridiculous, and it was so fun to watch. And there were many more females watching in those days, because Harding and Olsen came out and they were playing with their shirts off, so they had a lot more interest. But nevertheless, Harding and Olsen beat Trenton and Fay 11-9 in the tiebreaker in 1980. And then I talked to Fay about that, and he said, yeah, he said to his partner, Dave Trenton, he said, I think we should go back to playing handball now. But they tried it one more time and they lost again, and then they were done. Trenton and Fay were kind of done after that. But Harding and Olsen came back the next year and won it again. They were the first team to ever win the pro doubles 2 years in a row. And I was starting to play at that time, and I was starting to play in that division in 1981, and I really have no recollection of ever losing to these guys, but he tells me that they beat us. I honestly don't remember that. It just, maybe I just put it out of my mind. But the one, just to kind of give you an idea of the respect I had for this team, there was one time when I played with a buddy of mine, and we were playing against Harding and Olsen in the state doubles championship. And this was after they had already won 2 times, and they were kind of making fun of us. Like, I was still a little kid to them, and they were just giving us a hard time before the match, and la la la. And we ended up beating them, but it was a memory that I have because it was so significant, because they were the team, and it was definitely a fluke that we beat them at that time, because they went on and won 3 more times after that, and 3 more national championships, and they were definitely the dominant team. And I was just, you know, it's just like I said, I never remembered losing to them, but I think I did, but they just changed the game, because they changed it from the Trenton and Fay era to then the Harding and Olsen era. And, you know, Mark is one of those guys that he's a natural athlete. Like, he was a very, very good tennis player. I don't know all the stuff that he did, but then he started, after racquetball, he started playing golf. And maybe even before that he was playing, but he really took it seriously. And he won the over 55, I know I'm going to botch it, but the state championships, state amateur for senior golf in California. He won that when he was 55. And he's just an exceptional athlete. And all of those accolades are great, but I've had a chance to play golf with Mark 4 or 5 times over the past year, and so we've reconnected, and probably, I mean, way more even significantly, of all of Mark's athletic accomplishments and things, is just the man that he is. He's raising a family. He's a man of character. He leads his family according to God's word. And that's the thing that stands out to me mostly about Mark, is that I consider him a good friend, and I'm just proud to be his friend, and I'm proud to introduce Mark Harding as one of the best doubles outdoor racquetball players in the world that has ever been. And it's too bad that many of you didn't get a chance to see him play, but like I said, proud to announce Mark Harding with the team of Mark Harding and Paul Olsen as the reigning champions of the 1980s. So thank you for listening, and here's Mark.
All right. Thanks, Brian. It means a lot, obviously, hearing those things from somebody who's a 20-time national champion in our sport. Brian and I met 42 years ago. Sounds even longer when you say it out loud. 42 years ago, when we were both learning how to play racquetball at Golden West College. He's 4 years younger than me, and he looked 12 years younger at the time. People asked Paul and I why we didn't play singles. Well, we kind of grew up playing against Dan Southern and Brian Hawks at Golden West College. The first time I lost to Brian, he always wore these blue kind of gym shorts. They looked an awful lot like a pull-up diaper. And I think I lost to him when he was that young. Before I go any further, though, I talked to Paul. Paul's out of town, and he couldn't be here today. So everything I'm going to say today comes from both of us. We'd first like to thank Brett Elkins, the Hall of Fame committee, and all the past members of the Hall of Fame for this wonderful honor. For those of you, as Brian said, not alive when I was playing, back in the early 80s, it was pretty special to play outdoor racquetball. Courts like Golden West College, Orange Coast College were packed on the weekends from sunup to sundown. You had an incredible time with all of those people. Tournaments like the Nationals were huge events. The McDonald's coming out from Florida, obviously making it a national event, not just local people. You'd have 40 or 50 teams in the doubles draw. The first year we won, there was 43 teams. I have the draw sheet back there. I took it when we won that year in 1980. So we started, Paul and I both started playing. I won B singles in 1979. I had just learned, I got a racket. My sister played. I learned how to play racquetball 2 weeks before the Nationals in 1979. I won B singles, not even knowing, I didn't know any of the rules. I didn't know anything. So it was fun to come back a year later playing all of the whole entire year of racquetball at Golden West College with the group that was there, Brian being one of them, and learning how to play the sport the right way. Brian said we beat Dave and Steve in that 1980 final, and it started a really wonderful run for Paul and I for about 9 years. The first tournament, that 1980 tournament that I have the draw sheet, there's 15 of the top indoor pros were actually there as well, which really gave credibility to the Nationals as a big tournament for racquetball. I also want to thank both Bob Wetzel and Barry Wallace for, it was their vision really to create a national tournament at Orange Coast, and it was their vision that really started all of this. It's been over 30 years for me since I played racquetball. I tore my ACL really bad playing in a tournament, and it's the first time I've been back to the Nationals, and I'm really happy to be here and see everyone. So Paul and I just want to again thank you guys for the honor, the recognition. It's been great to reconnect with so many friends, and I just want to wish everyone in the tournament here today good luck. And I hope that you all get an opportunity to be standing up here one day. Thank you.